Hello and welcome to day 116 of 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tom Lynn's Nyback. We're here talking about black issues, wondering if blacks are getting ahead, regressing, if we're in the race, if there is even a race. Um, also looking at white response, white life, all the races, colors, languages in between as well. It's all relevant. We're looking at history, economics, uh, various forms of literacy, not just uh, reading books, but financial literacy and all that. We'll get to that in just a moment. Um, having said all of that, if you stuck around, I've got two big thoughts, issues on my mind. The first thought has two parts. First part is, are black people behaving rightly, properly? I'm just reading my feed. Another rap star is shooting up uh, gun violence, and all this stuff. The black mentality is disturbing. We've got our issues within and without, and you just, I'm not surprised of a soft response to what I'm doing. This is more a personal thing, but I don't have a whole lot of high expectations of a whole lot of black folks caring about what I'm doing here. And then on the other side, I anticipate being dismissed by white people and other people in between as being racist, which blacks cannot. I defined some of that in previous offerings here and all that. I'm sure I'll reiterate that later. Why blacks cannot be racist. Blacks are the horse. We're not the people running the race. Okay, that's a little piece of what it's about. But you know, okay, yeah, blacks are still. It's like, wow, for a community that I believe you want to be taken seriously, want to have access, want to come uh, in a very, how can you say it, legitimate way to America's table of wealth and resources, to international table of wealth and resources. And I'm talking about black Americans descended from slaves. Got to you got to start behaving properly. You got to start doing that. Still killing off the best of us. Shouldn't be killing off us anyway, Okay. So that's what's going on. So the two thoughts here. So those are the two pieces of the first thought. Black mind uh, prevailing from slavery. I think that as a factor in some of these black killings, black on black killings, black on black oppression. If you understand meritorious manumission, understand some of the mental approaches to slavery. It's more that the physical part is real, separation of families is real, but you had the institution, elements of the institution, white men engaged in the mental aspect of it. Dr. Anderson talks about the North Korean and then mind washing of captured prisoners, isolation, and things like that, and what that produces in the prison community. As I think we see the same thing. I agree with him, and I think we see the same thing going on. And conversely, white is the white mind and privilege, entitlement. You know, um, how the white folks can move in and out. The black folks since slavery, and I'm talking as far back as 1638 when Maryland disenfranchised the black folks living there. 25 years later, Maryland made it a law that blacks should be slaves for life. You know, there's just a economic obliteration bomb, atomic bomb went off in the black lives of America, especially economically. We've just been crippled and hobbled ever since. And the second thought on that note of economics is my second thought is for financial literacy. We can't begin to penetrate some of these areas and avenues until we start thinking rightly and behaving properly, understanding the financial language of America. The better our financial literacy, the higher up we can go financially. You know, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens as we acquire terms and languages and start to use that that vocal aspect of understanding and learning and categorizing life, that we can move up and rise up. I took a class, a philosophy class actually, but it was a class about, well, many aspects of philosophy and many approaches. And one of the approaches was discourse or language, how that it says a lot about us, says how we progress, how we learn, all these things. So financial literacy and all that. You know, I'm still in my infancy, and I had a little aberration in the stock markets that I'm investing in and all that. I didn't lose my principal, but you know the power of my investment declined a lot because I wasn't literate, paying attention, and all that stuff. You know, but I need to. That's part of investment life. You know? So it's cool. Now with that, I mentioned Dr. Claude Anderson. He's my inspiration for really getting on board with this. He's not so much a financial literacy guy. He does say that understanding economics is a motivation for us to get on board. We're getting more aggressive, not assertive, aggressive with establishing black presence, black equality in America, and also, you know, for blacks to be more independent, unified in business and all that. He's very much friends with the head of the Black Business School, a man named Dr. Boyce Watkins, you know, what Dr. Watkins does, very important. I even had a sample of some of his product and all that. I'm not much of a subscription guy. I like to complete things. I want to have a sense of goals, even though financial literacy and education is ongoing. Now, back to Dr. Anderson, I read 3 of his works. I want you to get these works, please, so that we're on the same page. You know what I'm talking about. A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. We'll reference those books pretty heavily. We're going through a series now, and we got plenty of material to wade through, 350, 400 years of material. So we're never wanting for something to talk about here at Racial Change. But you can find Dr. Anderson here on YouTube, of course. Powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. It's a physical space. Pretty sure behind me you'll see hashtag us too, the black women getting together, supporting one another. there, go to Black Enough, BLAGGENUF. It's kind of a black Facebook, and they will, you know, you can find your flavor over there. If you found me on YouTube, you can surely, you're technologically, informationally literate, and you can find your support, your flavor here as anywhere. Thank you for tuning in. And just so you know that it's not all humdrum, you know, negativity. We do take a fictional look at slave life in America. Uncle Tom's Cabin, very important work by Harriet Beecher Stowe, mid-1800s. And she gives us some interesting commentary on some crazy other little-known facts about slavery, slave masters running away, things like that. I'm almost finished reading the book. I don't know where we're at, just off the top of my head. We essentially go chapter by chapter, unless the chapter is long. We did run into a long chapter a couple weeks ago, and I had to break it up. And that actually, as we get towards the end, I may even break the chapters up more. There's some very interesting points that we can camp on within these chapters. We're still in our series, The Signers of the Declaration of Independence, looking at different aspects of these white men getting together and all that. I found another interesting tidbit today that I find interesting. We'll see if I can make some jokes on that. Day 116. Now, first up is Matthew Thornton. He's our third guy. Now, there was a couple guys not born in this country, and you think some of my myths about politics and these men and women in Washington, you're native, born in America, and you know, your roots are here somewhere. You're connected here in America, but not so. The most recent politician I could think of, not from America, is Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I'm sure there's probably many others after him, but that's just off the top of my head real quickly. So this guy's from Ireland. He's the third and last guy from Ireland, but we got a guy from Wales and another gentleman from England as well. So, you know, time, you know, it's not like they're over there and came over. They grew up here, but they were born abroad. He was born in 1714, Ireland, died 1803. His family started out, they immigrated to Maine, and they were chased out, burned out by the Native Americans up there. Hence, you know, the formation of militias to protect colonies and areas like that. The militia wasn't so much for internal issues as much as external. French and Indian War, other Native Americans trying to reclaim their possessions or kick people out of their space. He was a medical individual. He was a Surgeon General for New Hampshire militia for some time. Now, here's an interesting fact about Representative Thornton. He was 4 months late to signing the Declaration of Independence. It makes me think, like, next time I see a portrait of the Declaration of Independence, I might just count heads to see if there's 56 guys there. I'll be like, well, that's not accurate, right? It's a good little, you know, trivia point. 4 months late. He came in November. It doesn't say why he was late. Remember, we're coming out of Wikipedia. It's a good start. It's not an in-depth expose of these guys, unless they were really popular, like Benjamin Franklin and some of the other gentlemen. And his Presbyterian, not a whole lot of slave uh, mentioning the further north you go, the less it kind of became an issue. Um, I'm guessing because of trying to stave off Native American encroachment and their reclamation efforts and all that. Just a different life the more northern you went. Not a big agricultural length of agricultural interest, as a southern South where it's warmer, longer, and all that. So not his religious beliefs. The presbytery was not heavily involved in it, but I'm sure there was abolitionist hearings and leanings in his space there in New Hampshire. And he signed just to stop England's encroachment and unfair unfair taxation of the colonies. That's kind of my default mode. I didn't see a lot of explicit information about his relationship with England and whatnot. That's my 2 cents. I'm making some of this up. I'm just filling in some gaps best I can. And yeah, of course he signed to stop England. That's why do you have brakes on your car to stop the car? It's not brain, it's not rocket science, but I didn't find any specifics of his motivation to be a patriot. The next gentleman up, representative from Georgia. His name was George Walton, born 1741, died 1804. Remember, Georgia was that created as that buffer between the slave South. Georgia is kind of the extreme South, but it's created to be a buffer to slow down the southern escaping slaves. It wasn't just everybody heading north, the North Star and Underground Railroad, Canada, and all that. Doc Granderson makes interesting notes that as these slaves are escaping, going across maybe the Five Finger Lakes up there, that those going north are trying to escape slavery, but Canada was a slave nation for a time as well. And the slaves coming from Canada heading south, to an obvious, like, they're both passing each other on the lake thinking they're going to freedom. So just had to be a crazy time. So anyway, Georgia is that buffer because the Spanish held territory. It encouraged growth and population. The Spain did not. We're talking the Florida area there. Spain did not. They held on loosely to Florida. They didn't. It wasn't, I guess, a priority. Much like maybe further south Mexico, Central America, South America. So Florida was easily given over during those days. So keep that in mind about Georgia. This is another guy captured by the British during the war. Later released, he suffered a wound, and the British in the South, the Southern British soldier, let him heal up before they locked him up proper. But they did let him go into prisoner exchange. That came about. He's an Anglican tied to the Church of England to a degree, but based in the colonies. He's in Georgia, so he's a slave supporter. Now, he was a very popular lawyer there in Georgia. So, you reach that rock star status where everybody knows your name, which is interesting. Like, it's not like tweets and Facebook posts right? Their tweets and Facebook posts were, you know, some messenger riding into town every month or so with news of the outside world. You know, we're instantaneous now, but their information age wasn't even in its infancy. The mother and father had not even met yet for the information age. Things went very slow. But if you're known in the colonies to any degree, and um, his specialty was law, you know, and these guys with medicine, you know, yesterday's iron worker and all that, but you know, somehow your exploits, your reputation grows. So that's what happened with George Walton. And he came to the Second Continental Congress. He was on time, and but his fame as a lawyer carried him, propelled him into that arena. So it's a short clip today. We broke the W's now. What's that mean? That means we're in the home stretch. We just got a couple more days. Thanks for hanging in there with me. This is important to know what's going on. Now today we got a guy 4 months late. You know, what's the use? Do have other New Hampshire representatives there. Um, I don't see 56 as being a multiplier divided by 13 very efficiently. You know, no, you're missing. No, it's way off. Yeah, it doesn't really divide well. So it's interesting. They're like, hey, well, where's Matthew Thornton? Well, he didn't. Well, go get him. It's 4 months. It's November. We need his signature. I wonder what the story is behind that. Maybe later in the year we'll take a look at that. You know, maybe you can, you know, find out. Please leave some comments about why Matthew Thornton was 4 months late signing the Declaration of Independence. Why that was an accepted practice. Do we see that kind of politics today? You know, if you're not present, do you get to participate? I know the late McCain, when he was going through his cancers and illnesses, you know, he made a point he had to be at some of these pivotal votes, you know, and then when he did show up, he did disappoint Americans, surprise some Americans, and some of that before he died. So there you go. Georgia is the buffer, and then from George Walton, Matthew Thornton, late, 4 months late, signing the Declaration of Independence. I'm Thomas Nyback. That's just a short piece. Don't want to hold you hostage today. Weekend is right around the corner. This is kind of good for me. Nice little short piece. Because I actually have one more night to go. And my schedule's crazy. And I'm gearing back up to get back to school in the fall. Thanks for joining me for 365 days towards racial change. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.